Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Lottie Lamour. I'm a plus size fashion blogger and a real life lesbian human. Over the next 2 months, Cosmopolitan and Instagram are going to be hosting live streams with LGBTQ contributors. This week, I'm here with the fantastic Travis Alabanza.
Hi
Travis, tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Travis Alabanza. I'm an artist, a performer, a writer, and I also post loads of cute pics online and talk about lots of things.
I mean, today is a wonderful example of cuteness. This is beautiful.
Giving kind of what the vibe I was going for today was kind of like band at the disco, but for being too cute.
Yes, I got that. This is brilliant. Okay, so obviously our identities are quite important to us. I mean, for me, my identity as a femme lesbian and also as a fat woman, really, is super, super important to me because I feel like it empowers me and like it makes me do change in the world and it makes people feel good about who they are. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like although maybe people looking at us are like, wow, there's like all these different identities on show that like in commonality it's about this feeling of being othered, whether that's by like our femness or our fatness, or for me like being black and gender non-conforming and trans has been really important to carve a space saying that I exist. I think there's like so often media, both LGBT and non-LGBT media, has said that people like us don't exist in queer spaces, and I think for me my work is important in my identity is to say that we exist, we've always existed, and we look really cute doing it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the main thing. I think for me, being like, I hate using the word influencer, but being an influencer.
Say it.
I know,
Name
influencer is me. But being an influencer and using platforms like Instagram, like Facebook, to sort of build an audience of people who are like-minded is so important. And I feel that because we're so like loud about who we are and what we do, it draws more people to us. And I feel that like the work that I try and do around body positivity, being happy with the skin that I'm in, and also being like visible as a femme lesbian in gay spaces is really important. And I feel that especially doing things with Cosmopolitan just recently, I know you've been doing some stuff too, but doing stuff with Cosmopolitan recently and talking about my truth has opened up so many doors for other people who have contacted me and said, thank you for being so open about who you are. What about you? Have you had the same kind of...
Yeah, I feel like it's about what I'm hearing when you talk about it. It's like when you go into these spaces that should have been always for you, but then have been set up traditionally to say, actually, says it's for you, but by definition you're going to fall outside of these rigid things. So I feel like for both of us, I can't speak for you, but I feel like womanhood and femininity has always been something hard for me to access because I wasn't assigned that at birth. But I feel like in different ways our bodies are shut out from these spaces because magazines previously maybe would have never looked at us as people to talk about fashion, femininity, lifestyle, sex, all these things that we've always been doing. And then I think I love it when I can talk about something and relate it to my transness, and I'll have a message from someone that said, I wanted to say this, I didn't have the words, and someone else found them. And I think how so often as marginalised bodies, we have to always find our first words. And it's so nice when you're given your first word for you. And you're like, oh, actually, that's just this feeling here when someone said something, so I don't need to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's been times where people have messaged me and gone, do you know, because I've seen you, I've bought my first bikini, or I've bought my first dress, or I've gone to my first gay bar. And I'm like, this is wild. I can't believe that me, of all people, have made you do that. And I think that because of those messages and because of people coming to us and being like, thank you for being this trailblazer, thank you for saying the words that I couldn't, has been like a turning point for me.
And I think you said about like the community, and I think often we get critique for staying inside a bubble. And then I'm saying, but the bubble's comfortable. It has nice sofas, it has people that tell you look cute. And I often think that actually that's what the internet allows you to do. And it allows you to step out into your own bubble, get comfy, lay out the carpet, have a nice decor, and then
chill.
Put your feet out into other bubbles when you want to and when you feel comfortable, and then you can retreat back when you need to. Like for me, I recently have been started to see my work referenced and be in connection with other body positive activists, even though as someone that's not fat, it's been a really important learning lesson for me to then like step out of the bubble or realize where our bubbles were kind of, I'm going with this bubble analogy, they were like intersecting in like a big bowl, and now I'm like swimming in other people's, and it's so nice how the internet can do that, because then I know, oh, the kind of people that follow you are not going to be the kind of people that are going to shout at me on the street, because we're connected through this like desire and want for like better representation, better images of people. I think that's what I love the most about forming this community, is that outside, away from the internet, the streets aren't safe for us, the spaces aren't safe for us, these places aren't safe for us. But here, we can try and carve a community that is actually praising us for the things we're punished for outside. Yeah,
absolutely. I feel that the internet has become a really safe space for me, and it's because I've curated it. Much like you're saying, like there's been people that have been like, you're just creating an echo chamber of people that feel the same way as you, and diversify and all. And I have diversified into spaces like looking for trans bodies, looking for bodies of colour, looking for people who are classed as super fat, for like people that are over a size 24. That's been really important to me, and that's been my version of diversifying, and finding people who have the same sort of thought process as me, but don't necessarily have the same privileges as me. It's really important that we have things like Instagram in particular, to be able to put photos of ourselves so it's visual, and you can tell more of a story, not just with your words, but also with just being visible, and just being outrageous. I mean, we are like absolute goals of outrageousness, the two of us.
Matched the Instagram walls today, right? And that is forever going to be my greatest achievement.
Yes, I mean, after this live stream, if you don't go and check out Travis's Instagram and see this like matchy
it wasn't planned, I swear.
It's so good. But I think that link between like fashion and putting yourself out there into the universe and wearing like loud clothing that you're not supposed to be wearing, is kind of like a riotous act. It's all about not conforming, and by not conforming you're making a statement. What about like using fashion for doing that kind of thing for you?
So I think for me, fashion has always been so central to me figuring out my gender. I think fashion to me was a response to me not feeling like my body was right. And thinking that, okay, actually, I know my body's not innately broken. My body is inherently right because it's mine. So let me find the clothes, the fashion, the makeup that will make it feel more comfortable to be in this body. And I started realizing that for me, gender is, of course, as we know, a construct, but beyond that is a game, right? It's a game that actually everyone's playing. And it's a game that currently society's trying to tell us that trans people are the ones obsessed with. But actually, for me, I go outside, I see men in suits, or I see people pretending they wanted to wear this today, looking boring in no colours. And they're playing dress up too. So I was like, if for me gender's this game, I want to play at it and make a joke of it. So I like for me that my clothes, my fashion, my aesthetic can create humour, can create sadness, can create anger. You know, I think for me it was realising, wow, this is so ridiculous. I can put on these clothes and my whole experience through walking through the street will change. You know, like
it's like an armour.
It's an armour, but it's also a proof point as well. You know, like I've had cars force themselves to stop to shout harassment at me. I've had buses of people move so that they won't sit next to me, all because of what I'm wearing and look like. And they say that in a way that's shameful. But you're right, to me it's me saying like, this is a riot. This is an uprising, and these clothes and this aesthetic, it's like jealousy and hate and fear, desire are all such close lines to me that when I see someone fearing me, I also know that they're desiring to want to be this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the real tea.
That is
the tea served to tea.
You know? I think that's so it though, because like even as a fat woman, walking down the street and daring to wear like a short skirt or flashing any kind of flesh I want to flash, the amount of people that will stop and stare, or that will sneakily laugh and take a photo, that has happened on many occasions. And it's the fear, it can be such a brave act just existing as who we are. And the fact that we're putting on top of that this like level of just fierceness of going out and being like, I'm going to wear what you don't expect me to wear, and I'm going to look great doing it.
Exactly.
Right. It's such a political act to do.
If you don't mind me asking, we're swapping because you're doing all the questions. I know. Well, I was just in the middle of the and they're like, no, don't do it. No. How do you deal with? Do you have coping strategies to deal with the stares, the phone cameras? Because I feel like, you know, we can talk about our fierceness, but so much of occupying these othering bodies. And I also love this moment because actually under identity politics, everyone would try and separate us away.
Exactly.
When there's so much commonality in this otherness.
Yeah, there really is.
How do you have a coping strategy for how you deal with stares and looks?
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, that would have crushed me. Like, honestly would have crushed me. And I would have put on a brave face and I would have gone home and cried and felt bad about it. But these days, I've just learnt to call it out. Yeah. And I will fully call it out. And I'll fully go, did you just take a photo of me? I will pose. Let me pose for you. Like, let me do something outrageous and you can take a photo of that. Follow me here. Like, if somebody is saying something bad about me, I will literally turn my head and go, do you want to start a conversation? Yes. Let's talk about it. But that's only because I feel safe enough to do so. Right. And I know that, especially for people of colour and trans people of colour in particular, perhaps doing the things that I do won't work. Because it's so much more difficult for people like you to turn around and go,
oh, I still do it now and again. But you're right, it's all in that proximity to danger. Yeah. But the turning back on the photo is my favourite one to do, because then suddenly their hands start shaking. One time this guy was on a tube and he was trying to like film me and he thought he was being clever, and I said, are you taking a photo of me? And he shook so hard his phone dropped into his drink. It was the best moment ever.
That's clever.
And I was like, you sorted that one out for yourself.
Yeah, that was all you. Well done, you. Yeah, I think it's funny because, especially talking about experiences like that, like the way that we're talking about it on a live stream is...
I forgot about that.
I know. This is just so important. Like, this is important to have people like us having these kind of conversations and talking about it in a public sphere. And like keeping things behind like I've done before, it just doesn't help. And I think stepping out of those comfort zones, even for myself, has been so like wild for me to learn and just go, oh yeah, I can actually say something about this and stand up for myself, and there will be people that will back me up. That's wild to me. And I think using things like social media has been just such a good thing to happen, especially to fat women, and being able to see fat women being fashionable, living their best lives, like going out doing the damn thing, has just completely changed my life. And that's the reason why I do what I do, because I'm like, I want to give back and I want to give this to somebody else. What about you? Do you do the same kind of thing?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really beautiful seeing that difference on my feed, seeing that reclaiming of space. I think for me, using the internet was about how to make my art practice accessible.
Absolutely.
And it was like, how do I make the writing that's in my work and my shows accessible to a new audience, right? Like theatre, the world that I'm in is predominantly white, predominantly middle class, and often the type of people that can afford theatre tickets don't look like me, aren't young. And it was the same in literature and poetry, right? So for me, you know, sometimes in the poetry world, especially like how people of some older white men have reviewed some of my work is, oh, they're an Instagram poet. As if it's this bad thing. But what I think they're just saying is it means that actually this poetry has reached an accessible audience where it can be shared.
Exactly.
So for me, it was more about actually using social media to connect my work to people that can't come to the club and see me perform, or can't afford to go to the theatre. Or like in some middle of nowhere town that like I'm not going to be able to get to yet, and they can sit on their phone at night and know that someone is seeing them and thinking similar things, right? And it's that relaxation that you get when you hear you're not the only one thinking that thing. Like completely. There's been times where I've just been so worried that I would be the only person going through something, and being able to get onto a place to go, oh, okay, that person's feeling the same way as me, even though they're like hundreds of miles away. I'm like, great, this is great. I feel like I have a community here and it's all good.
So for me, body positivity, in the buzz phrase of the moment that it is, body positivity for me is like being loud about being a fat person and being positive about being a fat person, and just sort of putting out there that actually fat people can feel, and I use the word fat, like there'll be people watching this going, oh my God, she's calling herself fat. I mean, I am. Let's not beat around the bush. It's not a bad word. It's a descriptor. And for me, being able to be visible and being able to be that kind of person that puts themselves in front of people that might ridicule me only makes me feel like I'm going to change their minds. And I feel that that's what body positivity is so important for. But I know that body positivity is different for everybody. So what's your take on it? What's your opinion?
If we're serving real honesty,
real honest
here on the live stream, which is always risky serving honesty on a live stream, because if you spill it too much, you can't edit and clear it up. It's probably going to go on the wires. I'm really doing a lot of analogies.
There's going to be like hot tea everywhere. We're going to be burned. It's going to be bad.
I think body positivity was a word thrusted upon to my work rather than a word that I found and chose.
Yeah.
And it's one that, for me, I felt cautious of using because I've always associated it to incredible fat activists and thinkers and stuff that I've read, and that's, you know, as someone that doesn't experience fat phobia, it's always been interesting. But then reading trans fat activist work and following them online and speaking to them, I'm realising that maybe if I don't use the word body positivity or reject that, what I can take from body positivity as a movement, that it's about having autonomy over your body and allowing it to be celebrated rather than shunned.
Yeah.
Which for me is so interlinked to trans liberation too.
Yeah,
everything
totally.
We're saying about this is who we are, this is my body, you've labelled it as this, but actually I'm this, links so much to fat people's work as well, saying you've labelled this body as shameful, you've labelled this body as wrong, and the body positivity movement is saying it was never wrong, it was never broken, we don't need a diet, we don't need these things. And I think for me, my work, that links so much to it because I'm saying I can still be a woman and I don't need to shave my legs, I don't need to have these surgeries for you to see me as this gender, I don't need you to tell me that I was broken and need to be fixed to fix something. So I think for me, that's my relationship to the body positive movement. It's been really helpful for me to start building more connections between different types of people. I think like a couple of years ago, I separated myself from lots of places in order to survive, and now I'm realising that actually there's so many other bodies that are being othered and marginalised, and actually we need more movements collectively to scream for our agency, you know? Because that's what it's about. I think it's really, I think both movements, and not even to separate them, trans and body positivity, to say them together, it's about autonomy and consent, you know?
Yeah, it really is. I think there's been so many conversations recently around what body positivity actually is. And although it started as a movement created by women of colour to talk about fat bodies, it's now grown into something that encompasses it all. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. In fact, to me, it's kind of good because more people are talking about it, and it's including more people in the conversation, and that can only be a good thing. I think the way that it's kind of improved the relationship with my own body is that not only am I looking at myself and feeling better, but I'm also looking at other women who have bodies like me, and I'm going, yes, do the damn thing, you look incredible. And it's helping me spread that amongst other people that perhaps I maybe wouldn't have talked to before, or I maybe wouldn't have seen before. So I'm so there for it.
I love that. I love when we start as bodies that have been othered to start desiring the bodies that we've told to feel are shameful like our own. Like when I started looking at other trans people in clubs and in streets and places and being like, oh, I don't just want you to get free, I'm also finding you super attractive and really hot and stunning and beautiful and you look amazing. And like that was such a nice feeling because you start to realise that the work you're doing on yourself actually ripples elsewhere as well, and we're unlearning this system that has told us to find us ugly and undesirable. And also it's just not true. Like I look at us and then I look at like, go into the boring grey world, go to Canary Wharf for like 2 seconds, and if we stand in the middle, we're the most interesting people they've had all week. Hey, everyone will be calling off lunch break to go early. Everyone
we'll be in the newsletters.
Exactly. Thursday's cancelled, everyone. We've just seen these two in the middle of Canary Wharf.
See, that's the thing. Like, I think that just going out and being ourselves and just doing our own truth is enough of a powerful act that we kind of don't have to say you have to do this thing, you have to be this way, like, go start a riot. We are the riot.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. We are the riot, definitely. And even the shy ones too, you know, I think it's really, the thing that stresses me sometimes when body positivity or the word positivity was being labelled on my work is that, like, sometimes I'm really depressed, right? And sometimes we're all really sad, and sometimes we actually don't feel fierce and don't feel like we can walk through mountains with, like, our bodies.
Yeah.
And I feel like, for me, that's when the true body positive movement is about. It's actually saying, like, we're still going to love your body even when it's sad, even when it's sick, even when it's broken, even if you can only be trans in the middle of your head, like, away from the internet. You know, I think sometimes I meet trans people and they're like, how do I become to be out and proud like you? And I'm like, you don't need to be.
No,
if you don't want to
be,
you don't need to be. And that's where the positivity movement's in.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like, just reminding people in the community that actually you don't have to be that way, and you don't have to be loud, you don't have to be proud, you don't have to stand up and wave your hands around and just go, oh, hi, I'm a great person, because there's going to be other people that are going to do that for you. And I feel like Instagram is like a great place to find people that need you to be loud so that they can sit back and just work on themselves.
Yeah. Even in this, I mean, like, maybe they are being loud. We don't know what you're saying. You could be screaming out the back as well.
Who knows? So, that's pretty much all the time that we've got for this session. Quick. I know, it's just flown by.
I know.
Absolutely flown by. But thanks for joining us, and please do come back next Wednesday for the next round of Cosmopolitan's live streams, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.